Good morning. Good morning. Got a lively crowd today. I like all the energy. Welcome to Unity Spiritual Center Georgetown. We are delighted that you have joined us today. We come together Sunday morning to just create a sacred space, heaven on earth. It's about vibration, you know. It's just that energy, that vibration of that positive, loving energy. And so we come together on Sunday mornings and we create that space in a bigger format as a group. So I could tell everybody, and my daughter used to be in an orchestra, and when she plays by herself, it sounds wonderful. When the whole orchestra gets together, it's an entirely different energy, an entirely different sound. Same here, because we're all, Heart Math says our hearts got this big aura all around it, just all this energy field. So you put it all together, it becomes one huge one, and it's just wonderful. So we take this time to re-energize ourselves from the mundane world, and we do so by coming together in prayer and meditation and laughter and learning and fellowship. So welcome here today.
Unity is a positive path for spiritual living. We offer a unique approach to spirituality. We are love-based and all-inclusive. We embrace an open heart and an open mind. We are spiritual, not religious. We are a blending of Christianity, Eastern philosophy, science, transcendentalism, and affirmative prayer based on the power of the mind.
We offer spiritual teachings that provide practical tools for abundant and meaningful living. You go to our website, on the resources, there's a drop-down list, and it says spiritual tools. We have like 14 of them. You're welcome to visit them sometime and maybe take some of them to heart, which one you identify with, and use them on a daily basis to just further our positive experience here on earth.
We are an inter-spiritual community, and we are divine love in expression. We draw from and we honor all paths to God. We have no dogma or creed, though we do have 5 principles that formulate our philosophy. Our foundational belief is oneness. Our fundamental practice is being in the present moment.
So once again, welcome to Unity Spiritual Center Georgetown, a spiritual breath of fresh air. We're going to talk about that spiritual breath of fresh air today in my lesson. Announcements.
A few announcements, activities going on here at Unity of Georgetown. If you are here for the first time, we'd like to extend a special welcome to you. So if you're comfortable, would you raise your hand? I hope I can see you. These folks, stand up.
My name's Mary. I've been in Sun City for a while.
Okay, Mary from Sun City.
Right, first time.
Okay, welcome, Mary, welcome. What was your first name? I'm sorry. Thor?
Yeah, that's about the only one I go by. I don't need 2 names.
Okay, Thor and Darlene. Okay, well, welcome. Yes, ma'am. Claudette. And are you here in Georgetown? Yes. Okay. Claudette from Sun City. Welcome, Claudette.
There's one more gentleman back there.
Was there?
Yeah.
Okay. Way in the back, huh?
Fernand from Sun City, and my wife suggested I come with her today.
Okay, hello, Fernand from Sun City. Welcome. Well, you've got your welcome packets. So thank you all for being here. We hope you feel welcome and that you consider making Unity of Georgetown, your spiritual home. Reverend Tommy's Let's Get Metaphysical discussion group meets Wednesdays at 10 a.m. The topic and the location will be announced.
Let me add something to that. We won't meet this Wednesday because I'm going home to take care of some things. But we do, for those of you who are new, we get together on Wednesday mornings at the park, right across here, the Legacy Oaks Park. Everybody brings their own lawn chairs, and we've had almost close to 20 people at times in a circle out in the lawn, and we talk, and we watch TED Talks or other leading edge type videos, and we have some really interesting discussions. So it'll resume on the 15th, a week from Wednesday. You know, the weather permitting.
Yeah. Okay, the book club will meet again on February the 28th at 10 a.m. They meet at the Lark and Owl, and they're going to discuss the book Unfinished Business, What the Dead Can Teach Us About Life by James Van Prague. Valentine Potluck Gathering is going to be hosted by Kai and Tad Browning on February the 11th. The theme is put a lot of love in your dish. Okay, your participation is requested at a town hall meeting that's going to be held immediately after service on Sunday, February the 19th. We're going to discuss the search for a permanent home for Unity Spiritual Center of Georgetown. Then our annual meeting will be held on Sunday, March the 5th, immediately following the service. Everyone is welcome as we report on the status of our spiritual center, but only members can vote. Everyone's welcome, but only members can vote on any motions or to elect board members. And if you are interested in being nominated to serve on the board, let someone on the board, Reverend Tommy, know, please. Ann Kennedy, our resident biblical archaeologist, is preparing to host another class on discovering little-known religious texts and is looking for feedback. The date and time will be announced later. Ann?
Come up here, Hans, on the microphone. That way our friends who are online can hear you.
I see what you mean about that, son. We did a wonderful class right before Christmas on Mary Magdalene at my home, and several expressed that they'd like to continue study. And I do refer to my stuff as classes and study. You got that down. And I had 3 things that are already prepared that I could offer, and I wanted you all to have a say-so on which one maybe is first. For sure, maybe we'll do all 3. Some of you don't know that I was director of the Jung Center in Orlando for over 10 years. I'm a psychotherapist and have been a psychotherapist for 30 years. So these classes have been prepared and taught, even at UCF and other places have added on to them. So your choices are back at my house, same format, probably Tuesday and Wednesday, 2 to 4. I could use 2 or 3 weeks on each one of them easy, and we may decide to spread out a little bit. But your choices are the Gnostics, the Dead Sea Scrolls, and the Unknown Prophets. Choose or, select which one you might like to do first. Some wanted to do an extension of Mary Magdalene, and I've got some new information on her that came out in my biblical archaeology. But anyway, we had a lot of fun just exploring what had gone before us and what we've taken from it, and that's mainly what we do. So the flyers are on the table out there. Vote and leave it for me. Thanks.
Thank you, Ann.
Thank you, Ann. Okay, we're going to have a lunch and learn events coming up with Kai Browning, you're a busy lady, Kai. It's called Zen Talk, and it's scheduled for Sunday, March the 19th, following the service. If you want to, you can bring a sack lunch.
Please stand up, Keith, so that everybody knows
Yeah,
who you are. That's
there
Keith.
she is.
Thank you.
Thanks. To sign up or get more information for any of these events, you can visit our welcome table in the entry foyer. You can see the weekly e-newsletter, or you can check out the website at unitygeorgetown.org. Thank you.
Oh, that's true. Today is birthday Sunday. I keep forgetting. So who has a February birthday? Anyone? Oh, Nancy does.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Nancy. Happy birthday to you.
We're starting a tradition, another tradition, going back to whatever. There will be birthday cake and hospitality in the classroom, in the mesquite room back here, immediately following the service. So if you go through here and through the kitchen, it's the direct way to get there, and everything will be set up in there. Many thanks to Doris and Mimi today for getting that set up.
Yay. Yeah, sorry for all the announcements. Sometimes we just want to inform you everything that's going on. And next week, our wonderful piano player will not be here. He'll be having fun in Mexico somewhere. And so, if any of you... Why not? We have fun here, just in case you didn't notice. But and so, if anybody can play an instrument, either a piano or a guitar, let me know. I could use you. But what I want to do, though, is that we do a couple of songs that we use on a regular basis. You know which ones they are. They're kind of drum circle songs, really. So next week, bring all your noisemakers, all your drums, all your beaters, all your everything, and we're going to do them drum circle style, the first two songs. Okay, so we'll have fun with that drum circle energy. Anyway, let us start the service. As you know, I like to start with something that I call laughter is the best medicine, because when you just laugh, you're just filled with joy. And as I've said before, I'm running out of jokes, but Mag was kind enough to share one with me this week, so I want to share that one. He goes like this. An elderly couple had dinner at another couple's house. After eating, the wives went out to the kitchen, and the two gentlemen stayed talking. And then one of the guys tells the other guy, you know, last night we went to this restaurant. It was so good. Never tasted anything that delicious. And they brought us this little drink. I don't know what it was, but it was really spectacular. And the other guy says, really? What's the name of the restaurant? And he starts thinking, and finally he says, what's the name of that flower that you give somebody when you love them? It's red and has thorns? I said, you mean a rose? Yeah. And then he turns over to the kitchen and said, Rose, what's the name of that restaurant? Let's rise and begin our service.
I release and I let go. I let Spirit run my life, and my heart is open and wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide.
don't have a bowl today, so I will. She's doing this?
No, go ahead.
Oh.
Please join me now in affirming our prayer of intention together. Loving, nope. Oh, divine order candles.
It's all in divine order.
Maybe I'll just dance. All right. Now is the time in our service where we light the candles that represent the law of divine order. Mind, idea, and expression. The law of divine order tells us that when we align our minds and hearts with divine mind, and we are inspired then with divine ideas, with creative ideas that we bring into expression through our thoughts, words, and actions. And in this way, we become co-creators with God. And now we have another song.
Hold my hand while I run this race. Hold my hand while I run this race. Hold my hand while I run this race. For I don't want to run this race in vain. Stand by me while I run this race. Stand by me while I run this race. Stand by me while I run this race. For I don't want to run this race in vain. Guide my feet while I run this race. Guide my feet while I run this race. Guide my feet while I run this race. For I don't want to run this race in vain.
And excuse me. Now we will affirm our prayer of intention together. Living Spirit opens our minds, opens our hearts, touches us all deeply with love, and sends us out as agents, agents of love, agents of peace, agents of justice. Amen. Now it's time for our children to go to Sunday school. I'm assuming there's a teacher here. Oh, there she is, Mimi. Wonderful. Have a wonderful time, and we'll see you in a few. And now please join me in affirming our Unity Statement of Being and Vision Statements. There is only one presence and one power active in the universe and in my life, God, the good, omnipotent. And now our vision and mission statements. Centered in God, we co-create a world of love, peace, and abundance. We are a thriving spiritual community, inspiring and empowering individual and global transformation as exemplified by the life and teachings of Jesus.
The daily word for today is healing. Unity co-founder Myrtle Fillmore's healing journey began when she changed her mind. Inspired by the words of a healing practitioner, she took this affirmation to heart. I am a child of God, and therefore I do not inherit sickness. After 2 years of persistent health-affirming meditation, prayer, and practice, Myrtle was healed. Her faith made her well. Myrtle lived joyously and vigorously for many years thereafter. We can take inspiration from this story. I too am a living expression of God. I feel my body's response as I claim my inheritance of divine life, vibrantly active in every cell of my body. Good nutrition, exercise, and rest support my healing practice. My faith is making me well. And now from Mark 5:34, he said to her, daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your disease. Today's affirmation is, my faith is making me well. Please repeat this affirmation twice with me. My faith is making me well. My faith is making me well.
In this house of love, we come together, one with spirits in our hearts. In this house of love, we are connected, we are perfected in God's light, and we shine. Yes, we shine as bright as the stars above. Yes, we shine. Yes, we shine. We shine in this house of love. In this house of love, we are family, brothers and sisters in this world. In this house of love, we seek the wisdom, tells us the truth, and we shine, yes, we shine, as bright as the stars above. We shine, yes, we shine. We shine in this house of love.
And now let's relax and become centered as we join in prayer together. We affirm the love and acceptance that joins us one-on-one as a spiritual community. And we feel and share the energy of this loving connection with one another. And we send it out as a healing light into the world. We shine the light of love on any situation, condition, or person that you are holding in prayer today by saying it out loud or simply holding it in your heart now. And then we trust and affirm the highest truth that we know in this moment. We know that we and all those we pray for are more than any human condition. We are a part of the divine presence that is all that is. We are inseparable from the power, love, and life that God is. Love begins here within each one of us and flows out to bless the world. And now let's close our time of prayer by singing an ancient prayer that affirms that God's realm is manifest here in earth as it is in heaven, the Lord's Prayer.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And leave us not in temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever.
Our spiritual practice today is Shine Your Light. And by the way, I didn't know that Dan was going to sing that song about shining, but apparently God did, so thank you, Dan. So I love the energy and the connection of singing together on Sundays, and I used to feel kind of shy about my less than perfect voice, but then I've learned that I can enjoy singing even if I don't sound like Byron or Donna Sue. If you put the two of those together, you've got the Mormon Tabernacle Choir right there. But I still enjoy singing. And you know, focusing on our imperfections and shortcomings is just a surefire way to kill the joy in our lives. When we think of ourselves as less than or compare ourselves to other people, we deny the truth of who we really are. We're both human and divine, and each of us has our own wonderful gifts to share in the world. So if we hear ourselves or catch ourselves saying things like, I'm too old, or I'm not smart, talented, strong, or whatever enough, that's a red flag that we're holding limited thoughts about ourselves. Learning to accept and love ourselves is really an important part of our spiritual awakening. And for some of us, especially if you grew up in a faith tradition or a cultural tradition, where we were taught that we were sinners or not worthy, it can be hard work to do that, to undo that. I know in Mass we used to say, Lord, I am not worthy, not just once. We had to say it 3 times. Yeah, get it right. And even when it was in Latin, we still got the message. So the more we recognize and release those negative messages, the more clearly we can see our own value and how we're meant to share our one-of-a-kind gifts with others. In his book, Awakening Joy, spiritual teacher James Barras says this: when you stop focusing on what you don't appreciate about yourself and start seeing yourself as a unique, mysterious, changing being, you allow your best self to shine through, and the joy of that radiates out to the world. And I saw a wonderful example of that yesterday when 5 new prayer chaplain candidates met at my house to begin their training. Each one of them made that decision to share her own gift of experience, knowledge, and spiritual insight and service to our community, and we'll all be richer for it. When we're willing to share ourselves, our wonderful, perfectly imperfect selves, we open a channel for God's love and healing to flow into the world. So next time you hear me singing enthusiastically and maybe slightly off key, just join your voice with mine and we'll make a joyful noise together. So now let's relax, take some deep breaths, prepare for our time of meditation. And I invite you to listen for that still small voice that may be urging you to let your own light shine in the way that only you can. And we'll know to come back, bring our attention back when Dan begins to sing.
Stay with me, remain here with me, watch and pray, watch and pray.
Thank you, Dan. And thank you, Therese. Those wonderful words. We're a positive path for spiritual living, as we focus on. Let me ask you something. How many of you receive and or especially read the newsletter? Actually read it? Very good. Yeah, so you know something about what I'm going to talk about today. Let me ask you one more question. How many were here on September the 26th, 2021, when I came for my interview lesson? Yeah, there was some of you, but there was only about 30 altogether. So, and we had a lot of new people here, so a lot of people didn't hear what we were talking about today. So I was talking about that I had been searching for a new spiritual home for about 2 years, maybe more. You know, at this age, I said, you know, I could really use a new adventure. And I saw the ad in the Unity Worldwide Ministries about Unity Georgetown is looking for a minister. And I said, so I applied. And they sent me the packet, and it says, what we're looking for in a minister. And it's something like forward-thinking, open-minding, questioning, all these kinds of things, and it says in a sense of humor. And I said, hey, Unity Georgetown is looking for me. So they called me, and we did a Zoom interview, and then they said, come on up, we want to talk to you in person. Okay. So I thinking, what should I talk about? And so to challenge you, whether you really wanted to minister with a sense of humor and forward thinking, I decided on a lesson that, well, you'll see. Before finding Unity, my Sunday morning spiritual experience was out there at the golf course. Not this one, but back home. And, you know, it was out there being guys being guys, and getting ready for the games that start at noon. That was my spiritual experience. And I call it that because Unity co-founder Charles Fillmore said that we are living in a spiritual universe. And if we are, then in some sense or another, everything we do is spiritual. There's nothing else. So I said, I can do that. And so I decided on at the time I can imagine somebody asking me, hey man, we're going to go to church. Let's not play golf Sunday. We're going to go to church. You want to go? I would have gone like, huh? Church? Who needs it? That would have been my question. And as it turns out, it seems like more and more people are saying the same thing these days, especially the young people. I'm not talking about just Unity. I'm talking about across the board, all religions. So the answer to who needs church is apparently less and less people do, or so they think. And that is the topic of today. Now, there's a lot of really important issues going on with church these days, not the least of which is attendance. There has been a steady decline in church attendance for 80 years now. There really has. The young people of today are the first generation of young people who come from parents who didn't go to church. So we're already in the second generation of non-church goers. Just recently, we dropped below 50% for the first time in America's history. There are more people who don't go to church than there are people who do. Now, what do you suppose are the chances of turning that around? The trend doesn't seem to indicate any chances of that happening, especially given that all the religions are promoting the same old story that the people were leaving in the first place. And so last week, Therese sent me an article, and it said that last year, something like 1,700 churches closed across America. So some people think that the way to go forward is to go back to the old ways of doing things. And I said, really? That's the answer? Going back is how you go forward? That sounds a lot to me like, you know, more guns are the way to peace. I say, sure, that's the answer. The biblical saying for this is, like begets like. That's kind of like the law of attraction it's saying there. And in case, what kind of explanation do we come up with for this decline? And I say that our consciousness is no longer in tune with that old story. My first forward-thinking move as a minister of Unity Church of Georgetown was to suggest that we drop the word church. And so everybody really jumped on board and said, yeah, let's do that. And it kind of confirmed to me that I really am in the right place. And then when we got together with the Let's Get Metaphysical group and I started to meet with you and talk to you more, I really saw how forward thinking, how you want to take this all into a whole nother level of understanding. And I said, I truly am in the right place. So this is what people tell me about Unity Georgetown, is that it is different. There are tons of churches out there. Right here on Williams, there's a bunch of big churches. We can't find a little one. And there's a bunch of big churches. On 29, there's a bunch of them. Downtown, there's big churches. And none of them are like us. We are truly unique. So I tell people we have to understand that the people who are seeking us are not really necessarily seeking a church per se. And so we talk about the importance of words. So it's not about semantics. It really is about that energy that comes up from the subconscious when you go back to the old way of thinking. And for us, we're looking for something back. And it was really different when I grew up. I'm sure you too. Back then, we went to church, period. That's the way it was. And when I think back about why we went to church, now these are the residual thoughts of a child when I was a child. And there was two reasons. One, because, well, that's where God was. You want to talk to God? Go to church. But it wasn't really that simple, because you didn't go to church to talk to God. You talked to the priest, who would then turn to God. Because wait a minute, you're not qualified. You do not have the credentials to be talking to God. All right, And when you think about it, really that's representative of that old Jewish temple view, that you would go for offering to the Jewish temple, and you would present your offering, but it would go to the high priest, and the high priest would do it in their secret room. You're not allowed back there. That's where they're talking to God, see? So that's how it was. And the second reason was because we were concerned about our eternal future. This is a big deal. When you're told that there's only two options after you pass away. Two options. And mainstream religion has dropped the God is in church thing so much, but not so much about your options, about your eternity. I don't know if there are here, but down where I live, there's billboards all over the place. If you die tonight, where will you spend eternity? You know, when I was in Unity, I wrote some op-eds to the newspaper, and they actually printed them. And one of them was called, "Is Eternity Eternal?" That's my Socrates influence, you know. And because a lot of people have the idea that eternity has a starting point. At some point, you know, maybe basically when you were born, but more specifically when you died. There, eternity now starts. And I used to say, so I ended the article with saying, so next time somebody asks you, where are you going to spend eternity? Just say, I don't know, but wherever it is, I'm already there. Look up the definition. I mean, then I started reading some New Thought stuff, and there was this lady, Nona Brooks, and she was the leader, the founder of a New Thought small church called Church of Divine Science at the time. And she wrote something that really caught my attention. She said, "We are living in eternity now." And I went, wow, we are living in eternity. It doesn't start and stop. We're in it all over the place. Anyway, you know, new science, and we're really into new science, quantum physics and stuff in the LGM group, and it's telling us that we used to think that there was empty space between things, that everything was separate. Science used to. And now they're knowing that, in fact, there is no empty space between anything. Everything is fundamentally connected. Max Planck, the founder of quantum physics, said this: "All matter originates and exists only by virtue of a force which brings the particle of an atom to vibration and holds this most minute solar system of the atom together. We must assume behind this force the existence of a consciousness and intelligent mind. This mind is the matrix of all matter." This is the father of quantum physics. And the Bible says basically the same thing, but in different language. I mean, can you imagine Max Planck telling that to the disciples? They're going to go, what? What are you talking about? But perhaps Jesus knew these things. Because in John 16:12, he wrote, "I have much more to say to you, more than you can now bear." Interesting. Was he talking about quantum physics? Maybe. So this brings me to another point of the lesson. The first being about declining church attendance, and the second is about our unique interpretation of spirituality. Last week, I talked about the greatest story ever told, which is traditional view of Christianity, and then the greatest story never told, which is our New Thought unique way of looking at it. And what did I say about the two stories? As different as they seem to us, it's the same story, the identical story. The difference is in how we interpret it. We talk about something called spiral dynamics in Unity, and it's that our conscious unfolding is kind of a spiraling up and up. And so every time you're always growing, and you're always running into kind of the same problems. You kind of figure things out. But every time you see it from new higher elevation. And so that's what we're talking about in Unity when we say that we have a metaphysical interpretation of the Bible. So what does that mean? Well, it means that as a spiritual book, the Bible is not so much the literal stories or events or people found in the pages. It is the spiritual significance behind the events, the people, and all the things that are going on in the Bible that is the true meaning. And a better description of metaphysical interpretation, I think, would be an allegorical interpretation. And this is why it says allegory, a representation of an abstract or spiritual meaning through concrete or material forms, a symbolic narrative. The problem is a literal translation makes God too small. It just does. And so we see stories from a different point of view. And I say this all the time. If the Bible is literal, then it's about some people. But if it's allegorical, then it's about all people. It's a story about us. It's a story about me. It's a story about you. That makes it a whole different thing. Now it's really personal, about our spiritual journey. And so, all of this, what is the connection between the two stories, the greatest ever told and the greatest never told? And that is that we are being told that this stuff that we call God took the form of humanity, or of a man, for tradition. In the old Hebrew scriptures, it says, Emmanuel, God with us, that God became flesh and made his dwelling among us, John 1:14. Unity would agree with this. The difference would be, we would alter that to say that God took and expresses itself as all of creation. All of creation. Why? Because we're told that God is all-powerful, everywhere present, and knows everything. And what does that make God then? It makes it everything. There is nothing but God. That's a different way of looking at things. The traditional view sees Jesus as the only one, but that's an extremely limiting description of what God would be. Let's take a simple example of the topic, seen from a higher consciousness that can entirely change how we see the topic. That's the point of this story. It is the example of Santa Claus. We all know the literal story of Santa Claus. But what is the spiritual significance of Santa Claus? What is the idea behind it? As human children, we had no problem believing in the story of Santa. We were perfectly fine with it. And we believed it for whatever period of time. I don't know how long it is. What do you think? 3, 4 years, 5 years? I don't know, whatever it is. We believed it. And then at some point, we start questioning the story. It might have been something like, are you trying to tell me that this one man literally goes to every house on the planet in this one evening? How can that possibly be? The seeker is born. You start asking questions. Same thing may have happened to you along your spiritual journey. When you were young, you might have asked questions like, how is it possible that God only revealed itself to one group of people? And this one group of people happened to be the ones who wrote the story. How does that work? There's a lot of questions. Let's try another one. How does a loving God send someone to eternal damnation for one short period of time, maybe 30 years, 50 years, 100 years, whatever it might be? How does a one-size-fits-all religion work given all the infinite circumstances of human lives? How do these things work? There are no sensible answers to it from the traditional perspective. So I think that's part of the grand exodus of the traditional church. But it has resulted in throwing out the baby with the bathwater. That's the problem. Now work with me on this Santa thing. What happened in the Santa story? That is what's happening right now in a church attendance. We no longer believe the story because our consciousness doesn't believe the Santa story literally anymore. But we don't have anything to replace it with spiritually. So we discarded the whole thing. People are going like, I don't believe in that in the traditional view of things. So therefore, let's go to the other side. There is no God. And for us, it's like, hold on a minute. There's another way of looking at this. And so this has created a big void in the lives of people because we are spiritual by nature. And because we're spiritual by nature, we need to be in a spiritual community. But it's got to be one that resonates with us. So this is part 2, the transformation. As I said, the parallel between the two stories continues. Now, from a higher perspective, look at what happens. The story of Santa starts as a man doing something that seemed impossible delivering toys to all the children of the world in one evening. If taken literally, it is impossible. It is not true. However, if taken allegorically or metaphysically, we would say it is not only possible, but it's absolutely true. When we abandon this impossibility, then we start seeing things differently. And so with Santa, as adults, we saw it from a different perspective. And we no longer thought about a man literally doing this anymore. And then it starts to make sense again, the story, from another level. And what is the idea behind Santa? It is the spirit of giving. That is what Santa represents, the spirit of giving. And can the spirit of giving give throughout the entire planet on any one given night? It absolutely can. So the story was always true, but it wasn't true literally. You had to rise to a higher consciousness to see it for what it really means. And so what do you suppose is a spiritual example as well? The same thing. There was a time when we as spiritual children, our consciousness allowed us to believe that old story. But then we began to unfold and to question it, and it didn't make sense anymore. So we abandoned it. But for people in Unity, they're starting to see it from a different perspective, from a higher consciousness, and thus the transformation. It was never about a literal story. It was always about a conceptual story. And from that perspective, it does make sense. Yes, God did take the form of a man, but it was never about a man. It was always about an idea. And that idea is that divinity within everyone and everything. That is the niche of the message that is unity. And the message we need to share with those who are seeking it. A whole new way of seeing the old story from a higher elevation. So who needs church? From that elevation, from that consciousness, we all do. I invite you now to take a few moments to reflect and contemplate today's message. It truly is the good news. It is a universal and eternal message about our divinity and our place and purpose in this world. We are grateful for the awakening taking place in our hearts and in our minds. We remain ever open to new ways of understanding as we forever birth a greater reality. In our continual conscious unfolding, both as individuals and as a community, as a spiritual community, we lovingly and willingly share this new message that people have left behind because it didn't make sense to them. The story is about universal love and universal acceptance. For those who seek this new understanding, we offer our spiritual home to them. Emmanuel, God with us and God as us. Each one of us as an individual expression of the infinite oneness. And so it is. So now comes the time when we offer our spiritual gifts and tithes to our community so that we can proceed forward with this loving message and sharing it with a greater community. That's what we're trying to do with our town hall, try to figure out. We want to grow, not for the sake of growing, but for the sake of sharing this message. And so we have to start looking about where we can, in future, go for that. So we take our tithes and offerings in our hands, and together we say, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I give in love, and I trust God.
Everything I see, everything I do is blessed by your hand, God. I'll give it back to you.
Send forth your energy to these tithes and gifts. As together we say, we bless and dedicate these tithes and offerings as an expression of divine love, and we release them to manifest that love in our community and in our world. Let's bring out the children so they can tell us all about what they did. Uh-oh, here they come. Olivia, your spokesperson, come up here. All right.
Yesterday.
Oh my goodness.
I'm bragging on you.
It was his mom's car, obviously. Well, duh.
Not in the car. He has a
His sister
motorcycle.
picked us up.
That's okay.
His sister picked us up.
So what did you do today? Tell us about
So today we made little candle holder things, and we decorated them. And
it. Why the hearts? Why the hearts?
the hearts because it's Valentine's.
Yeah, it's February. Love month.
It's February. And we also made like little cards, like Valentine's Day cards, and that was cool. They look cute.
Okay.
It's mine
All right.
and yours.
Wonderful.
And then we have something. We talked about the light within us, and can you say it? And what? And importance of our words.
The importance of remembering your words.
Yes. Are we ready to say it? Are you ready to say it? Come on. Girls, come here. Come here. We're going to say what Mimi wants us to say.
What do you want to say?
Three, two, one.
Okay, say it together.
If you're happy and you know it, shine your light.
So let's bless our children now. You ready? We love you. We bless you. We appreciate you. And we behold the Christ in you all. Final reminder, Therese is our prayer chaplain for today. If you need prayer, she's here to serve you all. And so let's rise and conclude our service with the peace song.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each other and live each other in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, I am, and all is well. Have a blessed, blessed week.
Don't forget.